Good morning, dear students. Hearty welcome to pre-university education. So, I'll be teaching you English. Before starting the first unit of English subject, let me give a brief introduction about whatever of the aspects that you should learn in first person. English obviously means language with LSRW methods, that is learning to listening, reading, writing. All these aspects are dealt in your grammatical textbook. So you need to have two texts. One is the course book and other is your workbook. Your workbook is a complete package of both spoken format of English as well as written English, and the course book consists of prose and poetry. Please love to learn English and enjoy the process of learning English. It's only then you can make yourself feel free with language. Okay? For now, let's start with the first unit of your course book, Reflections, that is The Gentleman of the Jungle by Yomo Kailato. Gentleman of the Jungle, written by Yomo Kailato, is a short story written by one of the famous African writers, Yomo Kailato. To give you a brief introduction about Yomo Kailato, he happens to be the first president of Kenya. And since he comes from the background of Africa, his writings majorly focus on the oppression or the process of colonization. So quite a bit obvious, this short story, which is in the format of fable, The Gentleman of the Jungle, which is in the format of fable, presents us about the process of colonization and the theme of racism. So, racism and colonization are the two themes, the feeling of inferiority and the power of superiority over the so-called inferior subjects is what is presented to us in this fable. So, what does a fable mean? What do you mean by a fable? Fable is a short story where all the human qualities are attributed to man and which ends with the moral theme. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಈ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿದ್ದಾಗ ಪಂಚತಂತ್ರದ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ನೀತಿ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಓದಿದ್ರೋ ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ನೀತಿ ಕಥೆ ಈ ಜೆಂಟಲ್ಮನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಜಂಗಲ್. ಬಟ್ ಇದು ಕೇವಲ ಒಂದು ನೀತಿ ಕಥೆಯ ಮಾತ್ರವಾಗಿ ಸೀಮಿತವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. This is also a political satire. Political satire ಅಂದರೆ ರಾಜಕೀಯವಾಗಿ, ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಆರ್ಥಿಕವಾಗಿ the way Europeans actually dominated Africans and the rest part of the world through the process of colonization. Colonization ಅಂದರೆ ವಸಾಹತುಶಾಹಿ ನೀತಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನೀವು ಇತಿಹಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದೀರೋ ಆ process of colonization. And through racism, Europeans tried to dominate Africans, Indians and many other countries across the world. And what was that tool that was used by Europeans? It is fair and kind words on the appearance. But their fair, kind policies actually indirectly were a means to subdue, to humiliate, to make the natives feel themselves inferior in comparison with the Europeans themselves. So, and thus make them feel that they are inferior and they are not up to the mark of civilized world. As you all are continent, whatever they entered, it was in the disguise of traders. And it is this particular point that's actually reflected or presented by Yomo Kainata in this particular short story, The Gentleman of the Jungle. Here, since he writes this story in the form of a fable, he attributes all the qualities of Europeans to animals. You come across many animals in the story, such as elephant, rhinoceros, leopard, buffalo, alligator, hyena and fox. All these represent European powers against man, who happens to be native Africans. You can see the opposite or contradictory fact in the title itself. The Gentleman of the Jungle. Usually, whom do you address as gentlemen? The civilized people are actually addressed as gentlemen, and I'm sure it's quite but obvious that those who live in the jungle definitely will not be civilized. But the writer here titles the story as The Gentleman of the Jungle with an intention of presenting the uncivilized face of the so-called civilized European powers. Europeans who are white in complexion, who do have an access to writing, who are somewhat educated and civilized as they do call themselves in comparison with Africans or Indians or any other country that they civilize. They use these tools as color, education and their civilized approach or their civilized society to degrade the other native people and thus establish a superiority over native people. It's in this way they actually try to conquer the people or the native people, which we do call as cultural colonization. ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಯುದ್ಧವನ್ನು ಸಾರಿ ಗೆಲ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಚಾರ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಒಳಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಇರುವಿಕೆಗಳನ್ನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನೊಳಗೆ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ಫೀರಿಯರ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್ ಅನ್ನುವ ಭಾವನೆಯನ್ನು ತಂದು ಹಾಕಿ they used, of course, this particular language, English, to make others feel inferior, and thus they began their trading. They actually benefited by this trading, and even they started missionaries, schools, and etc. and many such things, and thus tried to have a hold on the native Africans. And the same thing is presented to you in this particular story. The story, since this is written in the form of a story, it begins with once upon a time an elephant made friendship with man. That is, elephant here stands for European power, man stands for nature. The elephant, that is European powers, in the disguise of trade, came to Africa, they made friendship with man, and this elephant which came to Africa or just approached the edge of the forest requested man to give him shelter. That's what actually Europeans did. They requested the native people to give shelter. Here, elephant, which symbolizes or which represents European power, requested the native people, that is Africans, that's man, to give him shelter. shelter as it happened to be a rainy day. ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಮಳೆ ಸುರಿತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಟೊರೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ರೈನ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಧಾರಾಕಾರವಾದಂತಹ ಮಳೆ. ಆ ಮಳೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಎಡ್ಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ನಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಶೆಲ್ಟರ್ ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಹಟ್. And man, who is the native African healer, who has all the good qualities of kindness and humanity, did not think about the economic or the profitable thought that elephant has in it. He just agreed to it. He just agreed to give shelter to elephant and said that of course he is ready to provide shelter to him, but there is a slight problem. That is, his hut is small and elephant is huge in size, and so he cannot provide shelter to elephant. But man came up with a solution. Man said that he can allow the elephant to place his trunk gently in the hut, which means Africans permitted Europeans to stay in Africa and to look after their livelihood. But what did the European powers do? Gradually, they began to make, they actually made these native people feel themselves inferior. And they began to occupy the native lands and they began mining, and obviously their eye was on the rich natural resource and gold mines and diamond mines of Africa. They wanted to have authority over it, and this is what is presented by Yomokanata when he says that elephant requested the man to give him shelter in his hut. Man agreed. Man agreed to provide shelter. But what did this soft-spoken elephant do? Elephant flung the man outside from his hut. Look here. The hut actually belongs to man. And who should be staying in the hut? Quite but obvious, it is man who should be staying in the hut. Manushya gurustu, Manushya divasi. And now, man has given permission to the elephant just to place its trunk ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸೊಂಡಿ. ಆ ಸೊಂಡಿಲನ್ನ ಅಂದರೆ ಚಳಿ ಮಳೆ ಗಾಳಿಗೆ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಎಂಬಂತೆ, because elephant says to the man that his skin is harder, that is elephant skin is harder and he cannot afford to protect. He cannot protect from the stormy rain. ಬಿರುಗಾಳಿ ಸಹಿತ ಮಳೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನು ರಕ್ಷಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. And with this excuse, elephant actually throws them. ಮನುಷ್ಯನನ್ನ ತನ್ನ ಗುಡಿಸಲಿನಿಂದ ಹೊರಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. Flung is the word that's actually used in our textbook. Elephant flungs out the man. Flung actually happens to be the past tense of flee, which means to forcibly throw the man out or to throw anybody out. Here, elephant flungs out the man, and man is deeply hurt that he lost his shelter. So he begins to shout or he begins to grumble. He begins to grumble. Grumble means ಗೊಣಗುವುದು. ಅಂದರೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ತನಿಗಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನ್ಯಾಯವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. And right now enters lion. Lion, the king of the jungle. Here, lion represents the queen herself. This dispute about the possession of hut, about the ownership rights of hut, reaches the court of the lion. Lion, that lion, quite but yes, cannot go against the European powers. That is, it cannot and it will definitely not go against elephant, rhinoceros, fox, alligator, hyena and leopard. So lion hatches a plan. ಒಂದು ಹಿಡನ್ ಅಜೆಂಡಾ ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ. That is, he says that lion promises the man that a commission of inquiry will be set. So commission of inquiry ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತನಿಖೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ವಿಚಾರಣಾ ಸಮಿತಿ, ಆ ವಿಚಾರಣಾ ಸಮಿತಿಯನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸ್ತೇವೆ ಅನ್ನುವ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಲಯನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. And now usually when a commission of inquiry is set up or when a case is presented, usually the procedure is that that commission of inquiry should have representatives from both the sides. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾದಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರತಿವಾದಿ ಇಬ್ಬರ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದಲೂ ಕೂಡ representatives ಇರಲಿ. But what happens here? The commission of inquiry is set up, my dear students. Usually this question comes to 1 mark. Who are the members of the commission of inquiry? Rhinoceros, Mr. Buffalo, alligator, fox has the chairman and leopard has the secretary. Rhinoceros, buffalo, alligator, fox has the chairman and leopard has secretary. Chairman yaru? Fox. That is someone who is really popular for his cunningness. And now, once again, man grumbles. He is upset that the commission of inquiry has nobody from his side. This is what actually happened whenever the interests of any native person or the interest of any native clan was in trouble. Commission of inquiry was set up, and usually in the commission of inquiry the representatives were just from the side of European powers. Man asks the lion that what about the reason behind the absence of anybody from his side. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತನ್ನ ಕಡೆಯವರು ಯಾರೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವ ಸಂಕಟವನ್ನು ಮನುಷ್ಯ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. To which lion says that nobody from the side of the man are intelligent enough to understand the intricacy of European laws. ಆ ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಗಳಿಂದ ಅದರ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮತೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು, and second thing that lion assures us that this commission of inquiry will be totally impartial. ನಿಷ್ಪಕ್ಷಪಾತವಾಗಿ ಎರಡೂ ಕಡೆಯವರನ್ನ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸಕ್ಕೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ತೀರ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗುತ್ತದೆ.